Hello there, my name is Jack Thurmond, and for my first game journal assignment for Ryan Thames' Game Studies class, I'm going to be analyzing the game Minecraft, which was originally created in 2009 by the company Mojang. However, in 2011, it was finally released fully for consoles such as the Xbox, the PlayStation, as you can see I'm playing in this video, or better yet, recording my TV as I'm playing it. And it was also released on mobile devices such as the iPhone and Android. This game has always been a childhood favorite of mine, and I still play it sometimes as an adult. And upon looking further into it, there are many interesting things you can look at while playing this game. One of the first things I'm going to look at is a particular element that works in the game, and I'm going to describe why it works the way it does. That element I'm going to analyze is the gameplay that the game offers, particularly what you can do with the gameplay, because this game isn't like many other games in its time. The premise of this game is that you're just placed in a sandbox, and you can pretty much do whatever you want to do. And there's loads of things you can do in this game. Like, for example, you can, in survival mode, you can go around and try to survive against a horde of monsters at night. You have to, of course, then you have to try and gather resources which allow you to build a house, and gather resources which give you food and help you defend yourself. In creative mode, you're given far more liberties than you'd be given in survival mode, which you aren't really given a health bar or anything as you would be given in survival mode. And all the resources that I mentioned you had to gather in survival, you're already given in creative mode, so you can just go and do whatever. You can build the fanciest house on the tallest mountain that you can find. You can go grief a village if you so wanted to. It'd be kind of cruel of you to do so, but if you wanted to, you could do it. And you don't even necessarily have to do those things, because Minecraft provides a vast landscape that you can go and explore as a player. And so there's multiple ways that you can go about playing this game. Excuse me. I feel like this game works because I feel like this element works the way it does because it provides players with an array. In many games, you just get one set objective on how you play the game. You can play it like a certain number of ways. This game, however, it goes further than that. It really gives the player control of what they do. For example, again, the player could go and try and test their survival skills and see if they can survive as long as they can. They can go into creative. They can construct whatever they could possibly imagine, big or small. And they could even go and explore the game's many biomes, of which there are a vast many. I feel like the developers chose to develop the game in this manner. The developers being Notch, of course, and I forget who the other ones. I think the other one's name was Jeb. I'm just gonna call him Jeb. If it's anything else, I apologize. I feel like they wanted to develop the game this way so they could provide players with a game where they could express themselves through their own actions. Like because as I mentioned before, Minecraft is a game that allows you to do pretty much whatever you want to do. I mean, obviously there are some limitations, especially in survival. You need to get certain resources in order to not die and survive the monsters, but all in all, it's a game where you, as the player, can express yourself, and I feel like ultimately that's what developers were going for. In terms of what can make the game better, it's a system that really works in itself. I guess if they could add anything, it could possibly, especially now since there's been recent turmoil between Mojang and its customers on on pretty much how stingy the company's been in developing the game and updating the game. Like, for example, the mob updates, which don't really allow, which restrict the amount of mobs that get updated in the game. Players really choose 1 out of 3 different mobs, and it really sort of takes away from the creativity of the game because it limits the experience that the player can go through. So maybe instead of only allowing 1 mob from that mob choice, why not add all 3 into the game and allow the player to experience the game trying to survive or trying to cooperate with with all 3 types. I'm also supposed to discuss my feelings when playing the game up until this point, which Minecraft has been a childhood staple of mine for years. I grew up playing this game a lot, especially back in middle school, and I still play it sometimes. There's a number of emotions that you can get from this game. Like, for example, there's definitely a fear factor, especially in survival mode. In situations where, say you're building a house at night, but you weren't exactly able to get done with it. Like, for example, maybe you don't have enough wood to craft that final door. So then you have to go out and look in a dark forest, see if you can find a tree with just enough wood that you can craft a door. And, it definitely builds on that fear factor because then you got to keep an eye out for a horde of zombies that could be nearby. And if one sees you and you get close enough to it, it's kind of hard to hide from them. I mean, eventually you might get away from them, and you might get away from just one easily, but if it's a horde, it's not really so easy. At the same time, though, the game can also evoke other emotions such as pride in one's work in creative mode. As I mentioned before, if you find a mountaintop where you can build the largest palace, like the most Elsa-like palace that you can think of on the side of a snowy mountain, and it ends up being your magnum opus, it can establish a feeling of pride in oneself and a sense of achievement. There is also a slight bit of boredom that comes with Minecraft as well, and it can come in mundane tasks such as, for example, you see right here, I'm building a house, or at least an attempt at building something like a house, because I don't really have all of my resources yet, so to speak. And for a player that doesn't exactly have the imagination, I mean, this house that I'm building, it'll be a simple hut when I'm done with it. So it shouldn't take me too much time, but bigger projects in like creative mode, the bigger projects, they take time for the player to finish. And if the player doesn't go into that project, like say they want to build an exact replica of the Titanic when they start up a new creative mode, when they start up a new world in creative mode. And obviously if they want the replica, like depending on how accurate they want their replica being, obviously it's going to take some time for them to build. Meaning that the player has to have the motivation and the creativity and the imagination to go into the project and just be like, you know what? It's going to take me a while. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to finish this. And if you don't have that spark of imagination, that project is going to get boring really fast. And chances are it's going to get so boring that the player might not even finish it. Eventually, they'll probably go off and start doing another thing. Last but certainly not least, the journal assignment wants me to tie Minecraft into some of the things that we've discussed in class, and just elaborate on it in a substantial way. Which there are a few ways that Minecraft can tie in to what we've talked about in our class. One of the ways being the magic circle theory, because it's very, very easy for a player once they start playing Minecraft. It's very easy for a player to get immersed into the game, but at the same time, there are certain boundaries as to what's possible in Minecraft, as to what's possible in the real world. First things first, so let's just go on to the player. When someone starts playing in Minecraft, for example, say you log on after school. Once you walk into your house, obviously you're just another everyday college student who just wants to do well in their classes. However, when you log into the game, you're more than that. You become an architect of a million different pieces of artistry, or an architect of different palaces or different towers or anything. And that's not all. You can also be a castaway on an island or a faraway land, just trying to survive the next night. Or you can also be an explorer who just going off to the next biome, just trying to find the next point of exploration, the next attraction offered by the game. Maybe trying to find the next village, the next ruin, and so on and so forth. As for the things that you can do in the game, for example, obviously right here, I'm fighting a skeleton, which that's one of the things too, is in this game, there are mobs in Minecraft that simply don't exist in real life. For example, in Minecraft, you get mobs like zombies, you get mobs like creepers, the skeleton that I just slayed, you get Endermen, and in reality, zombies don't exist, not yet at least. Skeletons haven't come out from under the ground yet and learned how to shoot bow and arrows. Creeper, if you saw a four-legged creature with no arms just walking around one day, you'd probably freak out, because those don't exist either. And if you saw something like an Enderman, like a giant dark looming figure approaching you, or just teleporting in front of you, try to walk the other way, it teleports in front of you, you'd probably freak out at that as well. Additionally, there are certain activities that you can do in Minecraft which you simply likely wouldn't be able to do in real life. For example, take earlier in the video when I was chopping the trees down to gather the wood for my hut here. So, in order to get the first block of wood from the first tree that I encountered, I had to punch that block in order to get a piece of wood. And in Minecraft, that's what you have to do, is punch trees to get the wood so you can create the tools and create the blocks to create your supplies and your residence and stuff. In real life, physics doesn't really work that way. I mean, you could try punching a tree, but you probably wouldn't get anywhere with it without, in terms of cutting it down at least, you probably wouldn't get anywhere without an axe. And better yet, if you try and cut... Fuck off, zombie. Whoa, look out for the creeper. If you try and cut down a tree by punching it, like, not only are you not going to get anywhere going that route, but you're also probably going to injure your hand doing that. And it's not just wood, too. In Minecraft, you can punch stone and eventually get something out of it. Whereas in real life, if you tried punching a piece of stone, chances are you could probably break your hand, actually, if you punch it hard enough. Another thing that this game really ties into, in terms of our discussions, is the idea of monetization in games. An example of this could be seen in DLCs that you see on the console versions of the game. For example, for those who have played the game for a while, and especially the console version of the game for a while, probably remember back to 2014, particularly around the winter time, if they remember the winter map the winter demo map that they'd load, that the game loaded, which sort of had like a sort of North Pole sort of town. And it pretty much reskinned everything to give it more of a Christmassy vibe. And if players wanted this Christmas texture pack for the holidays, they'd simply have to pay a $6 fee from their provider, whether it's Microsoft or Sony, in order to get it.